Hello again, I'm back with another book review, and today I'm going to be reviewing In the Dark by Richard Laymon. It was originally published in 1994, and we're going to show off the cover there. I would say it's a pretty good cover. It's not kind of like spooky looking, and it matches the tone and plot of the story, I would say. Although it's not as good as the original cover for the first edition, because that one had like a very, well done painting of a cemetery done by Stephen Crisp. He did a lot of covers for Richard Laymon, and they're all really well made. Um, so I guess now I just get to the getting to the plot of read the synopsis as I usually do. So here we go. Nothing much happens in Donneville, at least not to the young librarian, Jane Carey. Then one day, Jane finds an envelope containing a $50 bill and a note instructing her to look homeward, angel. Jane pulls a copy of the Thomas Wolfe novel of that title off the shelf and finds a second envelope. This one contains a $100 bill and another clue. Like the first, it's signed MOG, Master of Games. The game has begun, but this is no ordinary game. As it goes on, it requires more and more of Jane's strength and ingenuity. It pushes her into actions she knows are crazy, immoral, or criminal, and it becomes continually more dangerous. More than once, Jane has to fight for her life, but she soon learns she can't quit this game. MOG won't let her. She'll have to play to the bitter end. Okay, so I guess I'll. This review is gonna be spoiler free, but I will have to go into some plot points because with that, I guess if I just read the synopsis, it doesn't give it gives barely anything away, so it'll be a little hard to talk about this book, But so like I said, yeah, spoiler free, but. This book is kind of like a scavenger hunt sort of thing because our protagonist, Jane, she has to she finds out a first envelope in the library she walks at, and then she does what it says, and then every time she goes to where the I guess basically where the envelope tells her to go, like it gives her hints about where to go, she gets a certain amount of money. Like at first it's a $50 bill, but then it turns to it doubles to $100, and then it doubles again to 200, and just so on and so forth. And of course, each envelope gives her instructions on where to find the next one. So at least I couldn't help but think like I was kind of like a scavenger hunt when I was reading this book. And I guess I'll just say this now, but I really enjoyed this book. I had a lot of fun reading it, and also I thought it was incredibly well paced. And I guess also this was a little bit different than a lot of other Richard Laymon novels I've read, because this is my 9th one I've read. Because this one, it's more of a slow burn, because for a good like 2/3 of it, it's not exactly scary or gruesome. It's just more mysterious and maybe some weird stuff that happens, and some I guess unpleasant things, that sort of thing. But it's nothing like too crazy. But yeah, but if you read this book, you'll probably know the point in the book where things just go really insane. Because, like I said, like 2/3 of it's more mysterious, but then at a certain point, it gets turned to 11, I would say, and gets like, oh man, this is quite horrific. And of course, it has all the with this being a Laymon novel, it has all his tropes that we all know and love. So, like I said, well, at least when you get to that some point in the book, yeah, it gets really horrific, like a lot of his novels are, and like a lot of his novels, it also has uh, basically, I guess, characters kind of like I guess falling in love pretty quickly. But I would say this one's not his worst offender, because I read like some, for example, in some of his other books, like The Cellar or The Beast House. Those ones, like seem like people, they just kind of fall in love instantly, like at first sight. Also, I guess that was the case in The Woods of Dark, pretty much most of his novels. Anyways, yeah, this one I would feel it didn't it did that trope better because I guess they the Jane and the love interest fall in love kind of quickly. It's not like instantaneous, but it is like kind of like when she first sees him, she notices like, oh, this guy's he's good looking and he seems nice and he just seems like have like a really nice like was it vibe with him, that sort of thing. But at least it's not like she's not like falling head over heels for him instantly. So I guess at least there's that. What else tropes? Oh yeah, of course. It. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh, I guess I'll say this another thing. Yeah. Because I said it's a more slow burn. So yeah, that might turn off some Layman fans, but I would say it's well worth getting through the slow burning part because it's incredibly well paced. It keeps you interested because it's like you always be like, oh, I want to read what happens next and find out you know I guess this whole mystery because it's kind of like I said it's quite nice seeing like, oh, what does the master of games has in store for her next. And it's also interesting that this book has quite a bit, like I guess like Jane, she goes through a progression, and I guess this goes along with another trope of Richard Lehman, like how characters kind of just change very quickly. This one at least is a little bit more believable because at first, yeah, Jane, she's like an incredibly shy reclusive librarian who doesn't have like apparently she hasn't dated much and stuff like that. And then by the end of this, like her personality and even her physique does quite the drastic change. Although I would agree with some people that it's not really realistic because you look at like Goodreads or Amazon reviews. Some people said like, oh, it's just pretty unrealistic things that happen in this book. But I would say that's to be expected. And I mean, I think that's why a lot of people read Layman. They're not really looking for something realistic. They're just looking for something that's fun and horrific, I suppose. Because yeah, like because when it first starts, she's just doing like simple things that like for the game, and then later she's doing like these like crazy things. But I do agree that yeah, her progression like near the end, it's kind of like it's kind of like she's kind of turns to like some gun-toting badass later. So it's a little it's kind of funny, and it didn't like attract any of the fun I had. Let's see, I guess I will mention. Oh, well, I guess I will mention I guess the negatives I had with this book, but in my opinion, they're pretty small negatives because it just didn't really ruin any of the fun I had. But yeah, it's that uh again, I don't think this is a spoiler, but it does like, for example, I kept reading this book. I was kind of like, oh, I want to see like how the hell does the master game seems to know pretty much everything. Like it seems like as if he hears and knows everything that like our main characters are going, like what they're saying and what they're doing and all these other things. And it seems like he's able to do like sneak into places and do some things that I feel like the only realistic way he'll be able to do those if he was a ghost. Yeah, the book doesn't really explain that, and they also don't really explain why he's doing this game. It just seems like he's just doing it because of the thrill of it. But it's just a little weird. Like, so he's just he's doing these illegal things and he's like just spying on these people and all these other things, and he's just like basically like, sneaking into places, risking getting caught just for a game. He's also giving away a shit ton of money too, because very quickly the amount of money that Jane gets for doing these tasks, like, it gets really high. So that kind of led me disappointed about reading it, because like when I finished it, I'm like, oh damn, like I had some unanswered questions. But again, that didn't ruin the book for me actually. Like I feel like having I feel like for a lot of stories, especially for how do you say this? But basically, I feel like not everything needs to be explained as long as I had fun, with the story. So yeah, again, a tad disappointing that they didn't explain some things, but I still had a lot of fun, and it didn't like ruin it for me. But so I just want to mention that, because I feel like that happens a few times with Layman novels. Like he has a really interesting idea, because I do think that this is a really interesting idea, but maybe he didn't have the greatest payoff. That kind of reminds me of like some Stephen King novels I've read. Really interesting ideas, but then the ending kind of falls apart. Although this one again, I don't think it falls apart. It was just a tad disappointing. Anyways, I'm just blabbing here, but yeah, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, and I think it deserves that score. Because like I said, really well done novel, really fun, really well paced, and also I'm just gonna repeat what I said before, but it keeps you really intrigued to find out what's happening next up until the very end. And despite this being like one of his longest novels, I don't know if it's his longest one though, because at least this paperback edition, it's at 468 pages, so it's definitely one of his longer ones. It it wasn't really that hard to read because, like I said, I was just like kind of like blazing through the pages, that sort of thing. Anyways, I should probably end things now, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then.